So, I say welcome to those who see this digital, and welcome to all of you sitting here in front of me. I'm Johan Trové, I'm CEO of the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, and today we will have a very interesting hour together. I will very short present what we are doing, because you are in the conference center of West Sweden Chamber of Commerce. And what are we doing? We are a member organization. We have approximately 3,000 members, and the members are companies in our region. And our region is, you see it on the map there. We are older than I am, actually. We were founded 1661. So back in the history, we founded and was initiated for the School of Business here in Gothenburg, the Exhibition Congress Center, and Universium. Probably you didn't know that. And every day we try to promote West Sweden, and especially in Stockholm, where the government are located, and we are representing the companies in these areas that you see over there. We also try to be a part of getting a better leadership among the companies in our region. So we have leadership development, inspiration courses, networking, and so on. We also run a couple projects, and these are some examples of projects that we are running, and we're running them because our member companies have asked for it. In this area, for an example, we have 250 small companies that we try to help and assist when it comes to climate change program inside the companies. And in this program, this project is, the board list is to get more women into to work in a board position. That was shortly what we are doing. Very warm welcome to the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce. And now I will present Jörgen Larsson.
Thank you.
Applause.
Thank you. So great to be here. Actually, it bring back memories, because after I finished business school, I had my first job here at the Handelskammaren, representing environmental technology companies around Europe. But then I moved on, and now I'm a researcher at Chalmers University, doing research on climate and health policies. But I'm also a member of the jury for the Win-Win Sustainability Award. So first I'll leave the thing here to Sarah to say something about the prize.
Thank you, Jörgen, and thank you, Johan, for that welcoming speech. So my name is Sara Larsson, and I have the great privilege of serving as the Executive Director for the Win-Win Gothenburg Sustainability Award. The name Win-Win reflects what we believe in: solutions that benefits both people and the planet, that balances innovation and responsibility, and that creates value for this generation and the coming ones. Each year, the award highlights a specific theme that captures both an urgent challenge but also an opportunity in the sustainability field. And for this year, our theme is Trailblazing leadership. That is leadership that dares to challenge the status quo, inspire others to act, and turn vision into real change. And I know that you, Jörgen, will speak a bit more about that in a short while. We also have with us in the room today this year's amazing laureates, Domingo Piaz from Ecuador, and our Youth Award laureate, Juan Pierre from Mauritius. They are leaders who represent this beautifully. Through courage, collaboration, and deep listening, they're showing what it means to lead with both heart and purpose, protecting the Amazon rainforest and empowering young voices for a sustainable future. But beyond the award ceremony itself, Win-Win is active throughout the year, building a partnership, engaging through our youth award, and creating spaces like this Win-Win week to share knowledge, connect people, and drive progress together. So thank you so much for joining us here this morning. That is truly what keeps the win-win spirit alive here in Gothenburg and far beyond. So thank you so much for this, and we look forward to this conversation very much.
Yes. So, as in the jury, we of course choose the winners, but we also have another very important task, and that is to decide on the theme for the prize. We have a new theme every year, so we have long discussions on what is it that we need, what kind of topic needs more attention. Like we have sustainable food, we've had anti-corruption, we've had so many different themes. But for this year, I mean, we live in special times. We live in dark times. We have so many crises around the world, with not only climate change and biodiversity loss, we have a loss of democracy, the spread of disinformation, and many other problems. So we thought we need something. We need to find a new path for global development. So that's why we choose the word trailblazing. We need new paths, but we also need people with courage that can show us these possible new paths. So we thought also that we need leaders. Leaders who can do things in a new way, to foster collaboration and unity, for example, and to think long term and not only 3 months ahead, and to not the least to that leaders that are good in fostering hope and vision for the future. So that's kind of part of the background for why we choose this leadership, or this theme. And today, as Sarah said, we are thrilled to have the 2 winners here. It's a great honor to have them here, and we will let them give a small presentation for 10 or 15 minutes each. We'll start with Jean-Pierre and then Domingo Peas, and after that we will have a conversation here up on stage where Johan will also attend. And for the last part of the seminar today, we will invite you in the audience to ask questions also. And then we'll hand around the mic so that the audience online can hear what you say. So we will start with Jean-Pierre, and the official motivation for you. We wrote that as a young global change maker from Mauritius, he has effectively connected youth with decision makers, ensuring that young voices are meaningfully included in shaping the policies that define our shared future. So with this, I invite you to come up here and give us a short presentation. But before, I mean, we want you to get to know each other. And in Sweden, when we do that, we always talk about the weather. So I'm curious to hear, how's the weather like in Mauritius now these days?
Well, the weather in Mauritius, it's most of the time sunny.
Yeah.
You saw throughout the week before today. Today I have a true Gothenburg weather. Like I brought sun for you. Like it was 2 big sunny days. So yes, you experience it by my grace.
Okay, great. So now we're ready to hear you. Now when we know each other. So welcome.
Thank you. So how do I change the slide?
You to the right one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, I'm Juan-Pierre. So just because it's very early morning, the exercise that I do with everyone is take a good guess about what is my age, right? But the people that know don't need to tell, like people in the jury don't tell them. So who wants to take first? Take a wild guess. What is my age? For example, you, yeah. 25, okay. Good guess. 19, good guess. 20, okay, good guess. Take one loss from behind. No one else. You, sir. 28, okay. So it's the first time that someone guessed it right. I just turned 20. Yes, so I am 20-year-old from a small island in Mauritius. It's near Madagascar for people that want to know. Don't confuse it because there is one called Mauritiana, which is an African country, one of our brothers. But we are Mauritians, I'm very proud to be it. So let's get started. Well, my first ever job to do something right for the world came at the age of 14 when I was charged by UNICEF to be chief of staff of the first humanitarian action program called the AYSP. What we did is we raised around 1.5 million rupees for both Mauritius and Madagascar for cyclonic disaster relief. And we were so happy about it, right? It was big. You had all the headlines, everybody just come to see you. But I really felt a sense of, I love to do this. It needs to be continued, right? So with some of our friends, we started what we call the NAFCO, the National Forum for Colleges in Mauritius, which is the biggest forum for all college students to just come and advocate for national policies and all of that. The NAFCO is now institutionalized within the Ministry of Education as the true representative of student voice. And at our peak, when I was the first chief of staff, we had like 550 members. I think we are touching now 700 now, 21 colleges. And per year, we're doing 18 youth events. My most pride action in NAFCO is, for people who don't know in simple terms, the COF is the day that all countries come together at the United Nations and decide the future of climate change. And I was the one to present it in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. And to do that at my young age was very special because I was amplifying the voice of my people. Because one of the first things that I will tell you all, because you're all leaders here, to be a leader is to be the vessel to amplify your people's voices. And that is that sense of duty that drove me. But I had realized one simple thing, right? Gothenburg is big. I think that Gothenburg is even bigger than Mauritius. But to help my own country, I was just thinking, what if I go outside and take the best practice from the outside world? Because if I always stayed in my comfort zone, what would have made me better? What would have made me a better leader? How would I be able to teach people the new things? So, under the last presidency of the United States, I was granted the Pan-African Youth Leadership Program Fellowship, and you can see here my brother with me, Nikhil, and our two other mates, and our trainer. We went to the United States. I did Washington, I did Atlanta, I did Seattle, and we went all across the United States, seeing those leaders, seeing those inspiring people, going to the White House, and the White House is amazing. If you get time to go, do try it. And I learned more about US and Mauritius diplomacy, which made me think that maybe this is something that I would love to do later on, to be a diplomat for my country. Representing my country felt so great because you are amplifying the voice of 1.3 million. Every word that I say, I have to care and I have to be representative of my people. And that gave me so much happiness. And so I decided to take the bet on me and run for the National Youth Parliament. What happened was, I was very young at the time, and I said, you know what, I'm just running, and everybody voted for me. So I got elected as Prime Minister, but I felt that I was not yet ready. So I chose instead the Chief Whip position, despite being first of a role. You can see this was the Prime Minister Hirsch, a great guy, and this was me, the Chief Whip, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Vice Prime Minister. And taking a lesser role does not make me less of a leader. Taking a lesser role just means that I am not yet ready for that position, and there's no shame in trying to start very low, because I do realize that if I took the prime ministership role, maybe the emerge motion that we produce would not have passed because I did not have yet the exposure. I learned from someone that was better than me at that time, and I'm very proud to say that today I can do it, right? And so we did, for the first time in Mauritius, a climate motion and a public energy motion that got included in the Climate Act of our country, and this was big because the youth never institutionally did acts. But then you know, the National Youth Parliament is not like a real parliament. We were sitting like once a year and all of that. And during my mandate, I felt that this was not enough. I need to be an on-ground person. Because if I represent my people just one times a year, what does that make me? A one-time leader. And what is a one-time leader? Everybody can just be a leader for one time. And so, took on a very big bet. Every country has a finance bill, right? The finance bill, technically speaking, is when your decision makers, your executive powers decide, okay, we will allocate this budget for all of the development of your countries. And yeah, so what happened? I knocked on the door of the Minister of Finance and said, hey, I'm Juan. Do you remember me from National Youth Parliament? He said, yeah. I was like, sure, now I'm your advisor. And so I was appointed as Minister of Finance advisor to my country. But what the task that he gave me, and this is something that I would like to tell you, was, yeah, okay, one is a consultation. It's a very closed door event. You have all, I think he had 5 advisors with him, and we just decide for the future of Mauritius. Today, if I tell you, just decide for the future of your country, you will be very happy. All of the lights on you, everything. You are that superstar, but it is not representative. As a leader, you need to be representative of your people, because what entitles me, merely a 17-year-old, to just say, yes, my country says that. My people says that. I did not went on the ground and see to the downtown areas of Mauritius and represented them. I simply was someone that was at the right place and at the right time. But this is not the leader I wanted to be. So we went across the whole island, very simple things, gave them a survey and said, hey, give me 1 minute with you, fill out my survey. We did that with around 13,512 people, and we built up what we call the INO25 motion, because the logic is very simple. If you come with a project by yourself and you knock at the door of your executive powers, or your CEO in your case, he will say, yes, you are the one that's doing that. But when you have public lobby, when you have a civic engagement, and you have a backing of people behind you, they are more likely to be bounded to listen to you, because you are truly leading. You are a true leader, and you have a true representation of the voice of the people. And so what we did, we allocated 900 million for sustainable development. We made internet free. That was very petty, I know. But I wanted free internet everywhere in my country. We made menstrual health project actually very free. Menstrual health hygiene product free for the girls, young girls that had to actually go to school and all of that. And we also focus on human capital development, increasing like 50% of scholarship to my people, because human development was something that is needed in each and every country. But then again, you see, one capital flow that I have all the time is, this is a one-off thing. I have to do it only once a year, because there's only one budget per year. And so I said, you know what? I need some training to be able to transfer my knowledge into something concrete, because I was tired of being a one-off show. I don't want to be a showman. I'm not a con artist. I don't want to actually come, put out a show, and then just go. So I went to the World Bank and applied to Africa Finance Corporation, and guess what? They both said, we both want you. Big dilemma, I have to choose the World Bank, the Africa Finance Corporation. I called the both Jay Hambach, which I currently thank. Jay Hambach is the vice president of the World Bank. I say, hey, what do you tell me to do? And say, hey, you don't have anything to do. Don't go to university. Take a bet on yourself and do both fellowship. And that's what I did. I took both fellowship. I was the youngest in the World Bank, and I was also the youngest in Africa Finance Corporation. And we developed policies, and they helped me travel to the IDA Head of State Summit, and I was the youngest person there, and I represented both Mauritius and Africa at that State Summit. And I learned one capital thing. I had to go back to my roots if I wanted to not be a one-man army and a one-time thing. So I came back to Mauritius. This is my president, a former president, and this is a former Minister of Youth. I was like, might as well go back to climate change, because this is where it all started, right? You remember COP27. I take a break for 28, and now back to 29. To COP29, I said, you know what? Let's take all the youth of Mauritius and do a national youth statement. One again, a one-off thing. But this time, my biggest pride is that I work into inclusivity. There was a specific pavilion, and that I would eventually, in the later years of Win-Win, we can do, what was specifically for people with disabilities. I learned how to do sign language for them because I realized one simple thing. None of my statement was truly inclusive. Because if I am not able to represent even the people with disabilities, the people with minorities, the people that don't even are able to read English or speak French or speak Creole, but people that can't speak their voices, I was not a true leader. And this was actually very great because the new strategic plan of the development for the National Assembly was developed during the National Youth Statement, and I had the chance to present it at the National Assembly and to the Speaker of the Parliament. And this same model is now used at the IPU, which is the International Parliamentary Union, and that is very great for what simple reason? It is the people that I try to represent, the people without voices. I was the one to amplify their voice, because now it is not my voice. Yes, I am the one speaking, but it is their voice that is in this plan, because it's not one's plan, it's ours plan. And so I decided, you know what, let me just try something else now, because I'm so dynamic. I continuously want to learn. And so I went to the European Union, and Oscar is my ambassador. I said, hey, might as well be your youth ambassador at this point and your youth advisor, because I'm kind of tired to just do youth things. And I advise the European Union on one specific thing that I love at the level of the EU is the technological development that you have. So I took a bet on myself, and we did an AI disaster risk management curriculum with the Middlesex University and presented that to their students. And then one big idea emerged, the digital twin governance framework that we did. What is digital twin governance? Very simple. It comes from the idea that what if artificial intelligence can predict our future? It's basically modeling, economic modeling for people who knows, and future foresight, put all into one and build all what is the best possible outcome that it gives. And I was lucky enough to present that into Paris for the AI Action Summit. And this is something that I actually love, but I realize I'm not a big tech guy. I don't like coding at all. I don't want to be coding. So I decided that, yes, my final calling would be climate change and international diplomacy. And so I called Simon. Simon is a great friend of mine, the United Nations Secretary General for Climate Change, and said, I will give my application by myself, but I want to siege on your expert supervisory body. You know, like people that are on that body are like 60, 40, 50 former ministers. And I said, hey, I can do it for myself. And guess what? I am the youngest United Nations expert in the world for the climate and technology network sector. I am also the youngest part of UNFCCC supervisory body, which is the executive arm of all decisions. Every country decides for climate decision, and then when it goes, us, the supervisory body, give an advice on it, and then we produce whatever executive action that you have to give. And we work on 6 market projects around these big numbers. I don't like numbers. And my biggest fight, and one thing that I'm super proud, is the loss and damage fund. For those who don't know, the loss and damage fund is for retribution, for people like me, for people like Domingo. We are actually facing the plight of climate change. Why? Because in 50 years, Mauritius won't exist. Unfortunately, that's what we are saying. And this fund is basically not you specifically, but all the big European countries that are polluting, over China, the US, and all of that. You owe us back to what you have did to the environment, because my carbon emission is like 0.001%. Your carbon emission is like 13%. So what do? I can't pay the same amount as you. And this is something that we have been working with at the level of the United Nations. And yeah, this is the same thing. Oh, that's a nice picture. This is the Ethiopian minister. And I went recently to Ethiopia, so we work exactly, and I did a presentation on how they could work on their food systems. And Ethiopia is such a great country. And so we are now to this year. I was appointed to the IPCC. Got perfect plan. They said, hey, we needed someone with youth perspective for their special report on climate change and city. And I said, bet. because there is no challenge that I won't take. For one simple reason, I want to amplify the voices of people, because there was never the voices of the youth in the IPC, and now there will be. And this picture is very iconic. Don't mind my hairdo, it was a very bad hairdo. This is me in the UNFSS negotiating, and one simple thing for all of you in the corporate world, you don't have to overthink it. Everybody in the room was in big suits and all of that, but yet again, I'm not in a suit. I was in shorts that day. For one simple reason, if your work is good enough, your personal representation does not matter. I will always represent who I am, because what I see in the corporate world is most of the time you start for love. You have a love for finance, you have a love for quant, you have a love for all of that. But you lose that love because you fall into the trap of, yes, I have to fit that corporate model. I have to be here, I have to be that. And you stop loving your job. My point here is, and this image I chose specifically because this was at the United Nations Assembly, you have to love what you do by being yourself. It's not because I was just my true and purest self, but the message did not pass. We amended the UNFSS for a food stock date, and yet we did that. And yet I was not fitting the right model. If you look at me right now, you won't say that I'm the negotiator of my country. You won't say that I even work at the United Nations. You can see me across the road and just go talk to me across the road, because being down to earth is the essence of what will make you successful in this world. So to conclude, well, in 2022, I was just another youth leader with one big, bright idea. But today, here I am in front of you in Sweden, speaking to all of you CEOs, and you have probably big stories, CEOs, professors, business leaders, and all of that. But what I want you to tell is, go back to your roots and understand who you are and keep the love that you have for your work. Because if one day you fall out of love with your job, then what will you be able to love? And you won't be able to do what you want to the fullest of your ability. I believe in all of you, and I believe that we'll be able to make this world in a better place. And this is my story. I am Juan Pierre from Mauritius.
Thank you, thank you. Great, inspiring. And I have one question. I have 24 hours per day in my life. How many do you have? Do you have 2,400, or how did you?
No, I mean, it's just time economy. I don't like social media that much. I don't spend much time in social media. I don't spend much time in all of that.
Okay, so. That's good. That's good. Thank you. So we'll invite you come back up here later to discuss and ask questions. Thank you very much. Now, oops, no, that's too fast. So welcome up here, Domingo and Rafaela. Domingo speaks Domingo speaks many languages, but not English. Yes. So it's very nice to have you here again. We met this week, so gotten to know each other a little bit. It's a great privilege. Domingo Pias is a leader of the Achuar Nation in Ecuador. So it's a nation within the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest. My colleagues were there to visit him, and there are no roads to his village, so you have to fly in or take the canoe. And we will see some images from there in a film in a little bit. But Domingo is also the leader of and the president of an organization called the Amazon Sacred Headwaters Alliance. And this is a very important organization because it unites about 30 different nations, his own nation and other nations in the Western Amazon in different countries. And previously these nations have sometimes been in conflict with each other, but now they cooperate for their future, but also for the future of the Amazon, to protect the Amazon from exploitation, from he will talk about that. I don't do that. So we will start to watch this very short film, and after that, Domingo will give a presentation. So let's watch this.
En cada país que me voy, cuando vuelo en territorios amazónicos de Brasil, de Colombia, de Perú, de mismo Ecuador, la inconsciencia del ser humano es lo que más me hace sentir a mí. La nostalgia es eso. Cómo el humano destruye a su vida. Cuando hablamos de la Amazonía, el concepto del mundo indígena ante la biodiversidad, ante la naturaleza, no empata. Nuestro concepto es un ser vivo. El río es vivo, el viento es vivo, los árboles son vivos, solo no pueden hablar, también sienten. Cuando hay grandes extensiones deforestadas, más que todo en Brasil, me da mucha melancolía, mucha tristeza del ser, no de árbol, no de la selva, sino del ser humano. Cómo se destruye por sí mismo. Por eso es importante para mí, para no llegar a ese legado negativo, tenemos que trabajar fuertemente en la conciencia humana. Estrategia de llegar con mensaje. Muchos empresarios a mí me rechazan, no quieren escuchar. Porque me dicen, no, estás perdiendo tiempo. Pero si me voy a Tena o donde están sacando minería, donde destruyen todos los filos de los ríos, ¿cómo me duele? Me duele tanto porque no entienden. Ese problema de no entender es el maldito dinero. En busca de dinero destruimos nuestra vida. Eso hay que cambiar. Eso de buscar dinero hay que acoplar de otra manera. Entonces yo pienso que si comenzamos a trabajar fuertemente con aliados, repito, esperamos que hayan gobiernos positivos. Esperamos que ya la juventud empresarial haya raciocinio, razón para poder cooperar con Madre Tierra, con ecosistema, con limpieza de ríos. Eso tenemos que hacer para no quedar en nostalgia del sentimiento negativo de nuestra historia.
So, thank you. So now I will leave the word to you to describe your work. I don't know if you have more slides. Yes, you do. So you use this one. You press here to the right when you want to move. So, please. Ursäkta? Oh, microphone. That's a good one. So you need to hand this between you each other.
Hola, buenos días con todos, con todas. Para mí somos hermanos, hermanas que están aquí presentes. Un saludo cordial, caluroso, a nombre de los pueblos indígenas, 30 pueblos indígenas de Ecuador, Perú.
Good morning, brothers and sisters, and I also want to share my warm greetings from all our brothers and sisters from the Ecuadorian and Peruvian Amazon.
Es verdad, soy indígena achuar de Ecuador. Los achuar estamos en 2 países, Perú y Ecuador. No quiero contar la historia, pero estoy trabajando entre la cabecera. Todos los ríos nacen en la cabecera de páramo de Ecuador y cruza toda la Amazonía, frontera Perú hasta Brasil. Y estos ríos empatan gran Amazonía, río Amazonas, que llega al mar. Y hay una gran conexión. Para esto hemos juntado los 30 pueblos indígenas para seguir protegiendo permanentemente los 35 millones de hectáreas.
And it's true. I'm an Achuar leader of Ecuador. The Achuar people are in both the Ecuadorian and Peruvian Amazon, and I'm not going to get into the history side of things, but I've been working in the headwaters of Ecuador and Peru. The rivers of the Amazon start in the mountains in the Andes of Ecuador and flow through Peru and a bunch of different countries to get to the Atlantic Ocean and to become the Amazon River. And so this is why we've connected 30 different nations in the Ecuadorian and Peruvian Amazon to protect the sacred headwaters.
¿Cómo nace este programa, este gran trabajo? Yo digo siempre, y esto comparto con todos, donde hay oportunidad, nosotros tenemos un gran vínculo con ecosistema a través de nuestras 3 plantas, que eso digo públicamente. Uno es tabaco, ayahuasca y floripondio. Yo tuve una gran visión, mensaje de la naturaleza, donde nuestro planeta está en crisis. Me indicó que había un árbol ceibo que tenía muchos huecos, que nuestro planeta que estaba enfermo. Y debería comunicar al mundo, a la sociedad civil, que tenemos que cuidar este ecosistema para la próxima generación. Por eso he comenzado este trabajo de cuidar entre todos con una gran alianza, primero entre pueblos indígenas. Y eso es lo que estoy llevando este momento.
So how was this work born? And I always say we carry a very deep connection with the plants, with our ecosystem, and we use specifically 3 sacred plants. This is tobacco, this is floripondio, and ayahuasca. And in a ceremony, in a message I received from the plants, it's my vision that I need to carry this message. In this vision, I saw a sacred tree, a ceibo or a kapok tree, that had many holes or stains, and it was telling me that there is a big crisis, a big climatic crisis, and I needed to not only share this message at a global level, but also create this great alliance.
¿Cómo hacer esto? Ustedes sabrán que el problema climático afecta a todo. Todo lo que hacemos en la Amazonía también perjudica a todo continente. Toda la vida está conectada. Páramo, la selva, el desierto, océano, es un solo, no hay diferencia. Todo lo que ensuciamos, contaminamos arriba, los ríos, concentra en el mar. Y ese mismo vamos a comer nosotros. O sea, es decir, que nosotros nos hacemos daño a nosotros mismos. Entonces es urgente hacer este trabajo conjunto. Me he dado cuenta que solo indígenas no podemos frenar este gran problema mundial. Es urgente hacer una gran alianza. Eso se trata este trabajo. Trabajo es organizar entre indígenas por un interés colectivo, pero también es hacer vínculo al nivel nacional, internacional. Por eso golpeo las puertas, tengo amigos y por eso estoy aquí. El trabajo es conjunto. He tenido amistades buenas y gracias al premio Win-Win, ahora estoy hablando con ustedes. Yo nunca pensé hablar con grandes empresarios, pero estoy con ustedes. La necesidad es único, el aire es único, el agua está para toda la humanidad. Toda la economía está basada en la naturaleza. Nosotros lo llamamos, antes decíamos, el tiempo es oro. Y nosotros decimos que el tiempo es agua, porque agua es vida.
So how do we do this? Well, we know that the climate crisis affects us all. And what's happening in the Amazon and what we do in the Amazon will affect us all as well. We're all connected. All pollution, for example, in the rivers will reach the ocean, and then we will all be affected also by what we eat even. And only indigenous people can't do this. Indigenous people alone will not be able to protect the Amazon. We need to work in an indigenous and non-indigenous alliance. So this work is collective. We need to organize at a national, at an international level. And it's thanks to Win-Win that I'm here in this type of spaces. I never imagined I was going to be able to talk to, for example, the business sector. And so we're here because the air is unique, the water is unique, and people say time is money, but time is water, because water is life.
Entonces, ¿cómo frenamos esto? Bueno, ¿por qué buscamos alianza? Porque nosotros estamos entre arriba, Ecuador y Perú. Toda esta gran extensión tiene gran amenaza de todo ser humano. ¿Por qué tiene amenaza? Porque ahí estamos con riqueza de petróleo, de madera y de oro. Todos quieren sacar ese oro. Si nosotros indígenas entramos a explotar oro, petróleo, en 10 años se acaba Amazonía. Eso he hecho cálculo. Pero nosotros no queremos oro, nosotros queremos vida para todos. Por eso estamos cuidando, pero esa vida es de todos. Entonces mi llamado es ahora que todo tenemos que, bioregión hay que dejar para la próxima generación, porque todos merecen el buen vivir. Y eso es llamado que hago. Pero para eso también es importante hacer programas alternativas. Estamos enfocando a la soberanía alimentaria. La Amazonía está agotando por el crecimiento poblacional, por la contaminación, ya no hay cómo comer pescado. Hay ríos que ya no hay cómo tomar por la minería. Entonces tenemos que acoplar programas. Ese programa también está enfocado a la bioeconomía. ¿Ustedes aquí qué tomaron hoy de mañana? Hasta yo tomé café. Café es producto amazónico. ¿Qué le gusta golosina a los niños y a todos? Chocolate. Chocolate viene de la Amazonía. ¿Qué sabor da otro? La famosa vainilla. Eso es producto de la selva amazónica. ¿Por qué no invertir al bien colectivo para la alimentación? Estoy invitando a la humanidad, a los grandes empresarios, inversionistas, que entremos a este gran programa. En donde está deforestada hay que restaurar, hay que reforestar para seguir cuidando la selva, pero hay que también remediar, porque si apuntamos a destruir el bosque que está vivo, ya no va a haber bombeo de agua. Entonces, cuando hay esta crisis, ya habrá sequía. Eso ya estamos ya entrando al punto de no retorno. Si no hacemos acciones ya, sí vamos a tener crisis mundial. Así es que eso es mi llamado. Perdón, Rafa. Perdónenme. Perdón. Ya me olvidé, parecía que me escuchaba.
He thought you're all understanding what he was saying. So why are we creating this alliance? It's because this region of the sacred headwaters, this bioregion, is greatly threatened. And why? Well, we have oil, logging, mining. If indigenous people follow this economic system, they follow this ambition, we will be completely done with the Amazon after 10 years. I've done that calculation. We don't want gold, we want life, and we want this bioregion to be there for the next generation. So for that, we need to build programs, because we have problems also with population growth. We can't eat the fish in the rivers because they're contaminated. We can't drink the water of the rivers because the water has been contaminated by mining. And so if we leave these behind and we focus on a bioeconomy, we focus on these alternative economic programs such as, well, we all drank coffee this morning. Even I drank coffee this morning. Well, coffee comes from the Amazon. Kids love chocolate. Well, cacao comes from the Amazon as well. And something that gives us a lot of flavor as well as vanilla. Vanilla also comes from the Amazon. We need to invest in the well-being, in the collective well-being of the people. And that's why when I travel, I invite investors to move away from investing in these extractive industries and to invest in the well-being economy. Because we need to take care of what has been deforested and reforest those sections, but we also need to take care of the standing forest. And how do we do that? Also creating alternative projects there. We need to mitigate what has already been destroyed. We need to protect the water because these also come with the water cycles in the Amazon. The water cycles in the Amazon also affect the climate everywhere else because we need to avoid the point of no return.
Ahora voy a controlarme. Gracias. También estamos trabajando pensando al futuro. Ustedes saben que estamos en una crisis de liderazgo mundial. En el mundo ahora reina la corrupción. En el mundo reina ahora la competencia, prepotencia. No hay una conexión espiritual. El trabajo no es con amor. Ya no es solidaridad. Cada cual quiere más y más y más por donde más puede. Y solo para mí. Eso es la gran tensión que ahora tenemos. Entonces estamos enfocando a la juventud. La juventud para mí es esperanza. El mensaje fuerte que tuve es que ya debo dejar de trabajar con adultos, sino con jóvenes. Porque los jóvenes hay que entrenar bien. Los jóvenes tenemos programa de liderazgo urgentemente y ahora estamos creando un instituto que va a abrir puerta para que los jóvenes indígenas, no indígenas, estudien juntos, aprendan juntos, compartan juntos, coman juntos, caminen juntos. El próximo sistema tienen que diseñar nuevo camino la juventud. Pero para eso tiene que nacer confianza y esa confianza es caminando, estudiando juntos. Tenemos este programa y este programa es entrenar de buen humor para que los gobiernos que vienen se han conectado con mundo espiritual, con la madre tierra, con ecosistema y todo trabajo tiene que venir con amor. Si haces con amor, recibirás el amor. Si haces con odio, pues crearás más odio. Eso es mi aprendizaje que tengo. Entonces este trabajo grande que tenemos que hacer todos. Yo creo que todos ustedes tienen hijos, hijas, nietos. Para eso estamos trabajando.
So when we think about the future, we are also thinking about this leadership crisis. We have this leadership crisis at a global level because there's no spiritual connection. People want to gather and gather more wealth, and this is individual wealth. But we need to focus on the youth. For me, youth is what gives me hope. And we need to work on these leadership programs. We have a leadership program for youth, for indigenous youth in the Ecuadorian Amazon, but we're in the process of creating an institute. And this institute will invite and will unite indigenous and non-indigenous youth to learn together, because together they need to design a path forward. They need to design a collective future. And this can only be done through trust. So it's only when these youth are going to be sitting and working together, eating together, sharing together, and walking together when we can design really this future. We need to train the next governors of the future. These are governors that need to have a connection with the land, with nature, but also a spiritual connection. We need to foster love, because everything that's created with love will generate love. Everything that's created with hatred will generate more hatred. So we all need to work towards this, and we need to work at home too. And it starts with our kids at home to teach this connection that's needed, this love that's needed in order to be able to create a path forward.
Bueno, este trabajo es duro. Para mí ha sido difícil llegar hasta aquí. Para mí como no había esperanza, pero ahora me doy cuenta que sí tenemos esperanza. Los indígenas tenemos selva que todavía da vida. Sí, ustedes también a veces por error o por desconocimiento, mucha gente empresaria invierte en oro, en petróleo. Yo invito a todos los inversionistas que ya no inviertan al oro, porque lo que invierten al oro contaminan al río vida de los niños. 30 niños han muerto ahora en Perú por la contaminación de petróleo. 20 niños han muerto en Ecuador por contaminación por explotación de oro. Y eso está pasando allá, pero después pasará en todo continente. Cuando se llena de contaminación, todos nosotros vamos a tener problema. Entonces, mi llamado es eso, que ahora invertamos a la vida, al interés colectivo, porque todos quieren vivir en paz, la armonía, el aire puro. Yo les felicito a todos los gobernantes de acá de Suecia, conozco mucho, Europa, ustedes han aprendido a tratar agua servida, es un buen ejemplo. Eso hay que hacer. Ustedes tienen ya experiencia, nosotros vamos a aplicar, copiar ella. Entonces, invitar a todos. El trabajo es conjunto. El trabajo no pueden esperarme a mí solo, no a los indígenas allá. Todos nosotros somos corresponsables de la vida. ¿Cómo alinearnos? Es difícil. Cada cual tiene su riqueza, sus cosas que hay que mezquinar, hay que defender. Pero hay que cambiar, evaluar nuestra vida hasta ahora. Yo qué he hecho hasta ahora y qué debo hacer en la próxima. También he dicho en Londres, en todos los países donde me dan oportunidad, ¿cuánto porcentaje han puesto los grandes empresarios para el cuidado de madre tierra, para el cuidado de ecosistema? 0. Pues ahora nos toca poner a todos. Ustedes también tienen que contribuir para la vida que viene en el futuro. Muchas gracias.
And this work that I've been carrying, it's really hard. It's very tough. And I used to think there was no hope, but there is hope. We still have a forest. We still have a forest that gives us life. And many people are investing in gold and mining without even knowing where this is coming from. So I invite investors to look into where your investments are going. Right now, just in the last few months, we've seen 30 kids have died in Peru because of oil spills. 20 kids have died in Ecuador because of the mining contamination of the rivers. And this is happening in the Amazon where I live, but this is soon going to happen everywhere. So we all need to look after what's happening and how it's happening. We need to invest, and I invite you all to invest in the collective well-being. I want to congratulate the leaders of Sweden and of Europe because you've really figured out the water treatment of, for example, sewage water. We don't have that in Ecuador. That's something we look after, everything that has been done here, and we want to implement that in Ecuador. Because we're all responsible. We all have to auto-evaluate ourselves and look within and say, what have I done and what can I do better? And you know, whenever I talk to leaders, and I've been to London, I've talked to different leaders and say, what percentage of your money have you invested in giving back to nature? And people can't answer that question. The answer is always 0. So how do we look that back? How do we go back to our collective and think about the collective. Yeah, think about yourself, but also think about how you can be part of this whole in order to be able to protect the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very inspiring to hear. You have an important message, and you are really very successful in spreading this word. Actually, you told me this morning that you had another invitation for today from King Charles, but you choose to come here. We're very grateful for that. So now I want to invite Jean-Pierre and Johan up on stage, and we'll start to talk about these important issues. Perhaps Johan, you could come here. Start with asking a question, and I'll leave the word to Johan after that to ask question. And then I even asked Domingo to ask Jean-Pierre something, and Jean-Pierre asked you something. And then it's your time to ask. So I'll start with asking a question to you, Jean-Pierre. I mean, one dimension of leadership is to be good at engaging people, to involve people, and you seem to be the expert on that. So can you give us some advice of how to involve people and get them engaged for the cause?
Yeah, sure. I mean, many of you will have probably a lot of business meeting, long hours. I'm sure our CEO here has been through his fair share of lot of meetings, just sitting here and say, looking at the time and say, what time it will end, you know? And how do you engage those people is very simple. Like, I did that yesterday, I can do it again. Like, everybody just raise your hand, right? Try it, raise your hand, right? That's good. And then just crack your fingers. Yeah. And you see, what I'm doing here is I'm engaging physically with people. I'm sharing my energy with them, and they can see the thing, right? It has no meaning that you raise your hand or you just clack your fingers, but then it can stay in your mind, and the fact that you're moving and you're engaging with your surrounding and all the air, the light, you doing mechanism, that whole concept of getting into energy helps you to connect with other people, you know? Like, for example, you just smiled. But why did you smile? You see, it's those connections, and going back to the roots of who we are and our core energy is what will get you to engage with people. And I think that is the practical way.
No, thank you. Thank you. Great. Now, another question to you, Domingo. You have worked with uniting these 30 groups, 30 nations, and as I understand it, you have managed to build trust between each other and form alliances to work together. And that is also another important dimension of good leadership, to be able to find common ground. So my question to you is, how do you do that?
Para mí no es simple, es duro, pero es su trayectoria, su caminar en su vida. Eso crea a la gente la confianza. También es importante la humildad. La humildad es uno de los puntos más claves para el líder. Muchas autoridades cuando llegan al poder se olvidan de lo que es del pueblo y comienzan a actuar solo. Hay que saber escuchar de la gente que manifiesta para no cometer error. Eso va sumando la confianza y también lo que en este caso trabajo es muy importante, lo que empatamos todos los 30 pueblos indígenas era por el concepto. La teoría o el concepto indígena es que el ecosistema, la selva, es un ser vivo. Eso era que todo indígena, no importa idioma, empatamos en este concepto, que la Amazonía es un ser vivo y hay que defender. Somos parte, hay que cuidarnos. Entonces eso era el interés colectivo que se unió tan rápido entre los indígenas de Perú, Ecuador.
Yeah, this work is not simple. It's a hard work, but I think my career has helped, and the path I've walked has also helped me to have that trust. But something else that we need to keep in mind is that we need to stay humble, because a lot of people, when they become leaders, when they reach positions of power, they forget about the people. They forget to listen to the people. So listening has been very important, but also something that helped unite the 30 nations is that we share the same concept, we share the same worldview of our understanding that the Amazon is a living being, and that we are the same, we're a part of the whole. So that was really easy to bring everyone together.
Sounds easy, yeah. Great, so Johan, do you have a question you want to pose to them?
Well, how do you get energy to actually to fight for the future? Because that is exactly what you're doing for the next coming generations. How do you get your energy?
Jean-Pierre, you want to start?
Well, very simple. The world, especially for me, Domingo might have another answer, but this world is mine. In the next 10 years, 30 years, 50 years, if 50 years, even, and hopefully 60 years, I'll be still here. And if it is not me, who? It's my sense of duty, not towards just me, but towards my people, and not just my people as Mauritians, but I remember that I am a human being first, which means every other living being is my brother and my sister. It's a common duty that I have, and it can sound very hyperbolic, but when you're just a good person, right, you get the sense of duty that you want to fight and continue, because it's better to be waking up with a smile and something to be looking forward. And that's something that is very simple, to just smile and have something to look forward. Man, just say, hey, the world is bad, we can't do anything, I don't like my job, I don't want to do that. And I won't say that I don't fall into that. There are some days that I'm just sad, but my why and my motivation on an everyday basis is just to say, hey, I just want to be a good human being.
Great, thank you. And Domingo, how do you get your energy?
Sí es verdad que a veces uno, cuando viene problemas grandes, sí se desanima. Pero yo tengo mi energía cuando veo el clamor del pueblo, la necesidad del pueblo, de niños, de la selva, que cada vez, cada día hay problemas de grandes deforestaciones y los niños que están manifestando que quieren vida digna. Eso es lo que me da motivación. En verdad, había un momento que yo dije, ya no quiero saber nada. Me encerré en mi comunidad 15 años, no quería saber nada, mi programa, todo. Pero el problema seguía creciendo, creciendo, creciendo. Y ninguna autoridad decía nada. Hay autoridades que solo piensan en él. Entonces dije, ¿quién va a hacer? Me concuerdo con Juan. ¿Quién va a hacer si yo no hago? Entonces tuve que comenzar este programa porque decía, tengo que hacer algo. Mi madre me dijo, si trabajo para interés colectivo, todo aprecio voy a recibir. Pues eso estoy cumpliendo. Lo último, cuando estoy súper agotado, me voy a la meditación, a la cascada, solo, con mi plantita, 1 o 2 días, y eso me da energía. Eso me da mensaje para dónde debo ir, qué debo hacer, y yo estoy aquí cumpliendo mi misión. No es que estoy haciendo política, sino yo estoy cumpliendo la misión que me dio Floripondio. Me dijo que debo llegar, viajar, compartir, enseñar, transmitir. Es lo que estoy haciendo. Entonces, lo último toque que me da fuerza son mis plantitas. Muchas gracias.
And yeah, I agree, it's true. Sometimes with big problems, you do get sad and you do lose that energy. But I get my energy and my motivation from the people, and from even seeing the need of the people, from seeing the kids. The kids are asking for a dignified life. And so that's where I get my energy and my motivation. But I'm going to be honest, for a moment, I left it all behind. I threw everything away. I went to my community and I stayed there for 15 years, but I saw that the problems were not getting any smaller, but rather they were getting bigger, and the leaders and the authorities, they were not doing anything. So I told myself, well, if it's not me, who's going to do something about it? My mom once told me, if you work for the collective well-being, you're going to receive good back to you. So, you know, when I get very tired, also something I do is I go to the waterfall with my plants, and I do ceremony with my plants, and that's where I get my energy from. I am here because I'm fulfilling a mission of a vision that I got from the plants, from ceremony, which was to travel and travel and travel and share this message that I have with everyone. So that's what I'm doing here today. So yeah, when I am losing that energy, I go back to my plants.
Thank you, thank you. Well, using psychedelic plants is one way to go about. So, but we will not dwell into that more. Do you have another question, or shall we invite them?
I think it's better that you invite the lords to
Yeah,
ask questions to each
let's
other.
start with you, Juan Pierre. Do you have a question you want to ask?
Domingo.
Yeah, or to you, Juan.
Well, I have one question to you on just like how, from a business perspective, because it's not that lucrative to do green proofing and the green economy, it's not the best types of business, right? But how did you manage as CEO of a wealthy bank and all of that to manage the shift towards greening and inclusive transition, and what are the best practice? And maybe the question that Domingo asked, how much are you giving back to the nature and to sustainability?
First of all, I think in my little bubble, I'm like you, because I'm fighting for the West Sweden to be the best region. And we see that we are actually front runners when it comes to green economy for the most of the companies in our region in one way or another. And we try to spread that knowledge to other people. And for example, I showed you the project about climate change, that we try to help and assist small companies that do not know what they should do and how they should act, and we try to assist them. So I go home every day filled with energy, and I can look into my daughter's eyes and say that I'm fighting every day to make the future a little bit better, just a little bit in our region, but that feels good for me.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. And Domingo, do you have a question to Juan Pierre or you, Juan?
Juan. Juan, he visto su capacidad, tu liderazgo, muy joven. ¿Qué has pensado en los jóvenes? ¿Cómo tú quieres que te sigan tus sucesores? O sea, ¿cómo garantizas que te van a acompañar el resto de jóvenes de tu país y del mundo?
Juan, I've seen your capacity and your leadership, and my question to you is, how do you guarantee that you're going to have more young people following your steps, not only in your country, but in the world?
Like, for young people, I would say that it's just a matter of giving them a chance, right? We've been talking about that. And this is something that all leaders here would also invite you to do, is give young people a chance to the decision-making table, right? Stop clustering them into youth advisory board, mini consultancy, internships, and all of that. As long as you will funnel them with the old way of thinking, they won't be interested, they won't have a motivation, and you are just canalizing them. Open your mind. You know, for example, I'm very happy that you bring Rafaela, but I would love to see someone my age to do your translation. Don't fight me, Rafaela. But, and also you, Johan, it would be great that you have on your board of advisors, not a youth advisor, but a true advisor of someone my age, because there are so many things that we are able to tell you that you won't see. We see the world very differently. And it's by giving us a chance that we won't have to fight anymore to be on the decision-making table. Instead, we are on the table and we create it together. You have been doing it very well so far, and I'm very proud of the work that you have been doing. But it's something that we need to continue, because if the win-win team never created the youth award, I would never be here. You would never have known me. No one would have done me. And this is the main model that you can follow.
Very interesting. Yeah.
I think that you have a very good point there, that we should be better to invite younger people into the boardrooms, into different kind of groups that are discussing the future. So, but I'm glad to say that yesterday we had a board meeting of UNICEF Sweden.
Yeah.
UNICEF, you know, the organization, and we decided that we should have 2 young persons in between 15 and 18 years old into the board meetings every time.
That's great.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that is just one small example.
Okay, great. So before we move on with the questions from the audience, I often think that when we are at occasions where we hear new interesting thoughts, it easily happens that we run off to something else, and the day after we cannot really recall what we heard. So one way to make it stick in your memory is to think about it and talk about it. So now we will have 60 seconds in silence to think of what from what you have heard is worth thinking more about. So total silence in 60 seconds. Also for you at home there behind your Teams screens. Your neighbor and share what you were thinking about for 2 minutes.
My mic is on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who's watching online?
No? Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. Glad to hear that you are so talkative. It seems like you have learned something and have found something you want to talk about. But now we want you to share your questions, your thoughts. What do you want to know more about? So bring up something and pose a question to someone on stage here. So, but I'll need to, yeah, there's a microphone there. Okay, great. So who's first?
Hello, good morning to everybody. Very interesting. Thank you so much for your presentations. I had two questions to both of you. Have you met Greta Thunberg? Just to know, because she's very medial, so maybe it can help, I don't know. Or maybe she's more politics and it's not interesting for you. And regarding Juan Pierre, I'm very impressed because you're just 20. I bet you were 25, but congratulations. I'm really impressed by your journey. And my question too is what's next, actually?
I mean, about Greta, it was part of my plan to meet her one day, but I have a philosophy, right? I'm African first. There are so many conflicts that are going on to Africa, and she has the same philosophy. She's fighting across Europe, across the MENA region, and I wanted to do my fight. As you saw in my picture, I travel across Africa trying to provide youth engagement first in Africa, but sure, I am open to meet her. She has done a very great job, even better than I did. She won Nobel Prizes. But yes, she is part. We taught her in my school, and she was part of inspiration that came to me because Greta's movement came out of my same ideology. It's very simple. Just go out on the road and do something, and it will emerge to something else. Across what is next to me is I plan on maybe fighting a bit with my government upon one thing. There is one. You can check your constitution of your country to see if it is possible in yours, but Swedish people, all of you can vote in my country. So if ever I pay a trip for you to Mauritius, technically speaking, you can vote for me. And mathematically, you can actually win the election by having 300,000 people vote for you, right, in Mauritius. So let's say that I have 200,000 people that already vote for me because I'm quite popular in my country. I have to just pay the over 100,000, and mathematically, I will create my own dynasty, and I will be forever the prime minister or president of my country. And so I am in the negotiation with the Chief Justice and the Attorney General to amend the Constitution, and I already told the Attorney General that if he's not about to change the Constitution, I might go on to sue my state and fight it legally on legal grounds and to change the Constitution because I don't want a dynasty to be built, and democracy is something that is important to me. This problem emerged from the colonial mindset. Mauritius had a mixed legal system with both the French and the English rules. So it is prime time that we develop what I call the Mauritianism and the Mauritian law, and this will be my fight for the next few years.
Okay, thank you. Changing the constitution, next up, yeah?
Yeah.
So, Domingo, have you met Greta, and what's next for you?
He escuchado Greta, he visto por tele a la Greta, es verdad, es una niña muy fuerte. En Nueva York cuando llegó yo esperé horas, pero no había cómo hablar con ella. Y la verdad aquí cuando venía ni pensado, así es que, pero si hubiera oportunidad sería bueno conocer, saludar, conversar con esta niña.
So yeah, I've heard a lot about Greta. I've seen her on the TV a lot, and it's true. She's a very remarkable woman. When she arrived to New York, I waited for hours to be able to talk to her, but it was impossible to reach her. And when I have been in Sweden before, I've honestly never thought about even meeting her. But you're right. I mean, it would be very good to meet her and talk to her and exchange ideas.
Mi próximo paso es ya no viajar. Quiero delegar a los jóvenes, hombres, mujeres, y quiero concentrar trabajo en el campo, en el territorio. Lo que estoy hablando, la reforestación, restauración y la bioeconomía. Eso es lo que quiero, próximo paso que garantizaría para mi pueblo y para la humanidad.
And my next step is to stop traveling. I want to delegate the youth to take on that role and travel the world. And I really want to go back to the territories and to the ground and work on reforestation, restoration, bioeconomy, because this is really what's going to guarantee the well-being of my people.
Thank you. Thank you. Who has another question here?
Yeah, very inspiring. I think I'll speak for many here to see both stories. I also started thinking about when I was 20 what I did. But a question related to healthcare, which I'm working with on a daily basis, and is probably when it's related to climate change, like one way or another, there is a coloration that climate change will affect the way that we look at healthcare, and especially in those regions where you're coming from. But often it's perceived that, I mean, when you need to do investments, it's both costly on the healthcare side and on the sustainability and a climate change side as well. Have you ever reflected on like how it will impact the regions that you're coming from, and like what are your thoughts and next step, because it will hit a younger generation one way or another. We won't be able to stop climate change to the same extent as it's already started. We can do everything to slow it down, but how have you reflected on those like impacts it will have on healthcare?
Can we give a short answer?
From the motion standpoint, yes, I work on epidemiology crisis because we have rising cases of dying. So yes, climate will affect us. And what we did is to work with companies for much funding, right? But in more of your case, what could be done for Sweden is especially you guys sign what we call the Green Deal, right? And you have like carbon taxes and all of that, where those taxes are higher if you produce more emission and lower if you produce lower emission. And this is the same for healthcare. So what I would advise maybe would just to fund those kind of climate-driven risk and climate health research and go to the companies and present them directly and say, hey, I have this idea that can help climate health. We can't change anything. And this will bring down your taxes, so a win-win situation.
Thank you. Domingo?
Una buena pregunta. Toda enfermedad sale dependiendo de la comida. La base fundamental del ser humano es la buena alimentación. Hoy en día en Latinoamérica, toda comida es manipulada, ¿sí? Entonces hay que cambiar producción, hay que cambiar pensando en la humanidad. Y es por eso en caso de indígenas que están en filo de carretera hay una crónica desnutrición de niños y niñas. Es por eso que yo quiero enfocar en la soberanía alimentaria, quiero que tengan comida sana en su territorio, primero en su territorio, y eso va combinado con lo que es la bioeconomía, que garantizaría fuente de trabajo en la comunidad, que no sea migración fuera de la comunidad. Muchos países subdesarrollados están migrando mucho, yo quiero frenar eso. Así es que es la comida que hay que asegurar en toda la humanidad.
¿Pero cómo se relaciona con el cambio climático?
A ver, problema climático, cuando haces producción extensiva y monocultivo, es lo que afecta directamente al problema climático. Entonces hay que diversificar producto, no extender en grandes extensiones, sino toca bajar. Ayer dije a otros empresarios que ya no hay que crecer, sino hay que controlar básico para sostener la vida.
So that's a good question, and we're seeing a lot of illnesses coming from the changing of food patterns and also diets affected by the changes of culture, but also by the climate change. So we need to focus on production, especially for indigenous people that are near roads, for example. Their diets have changed a lot, and there's a lot of monocultures that also will, one, affect climate change and affect the climate and the environment, but also affect their nutrition. So how do we go back to good nutrition, food sovereignty, to be able to first feed the people there, but also then go into a bioeconomy? And there's a lot of problems also with migration. So this is something that could be addressed with a bioeconomy that allows people to have a good life where they're living, avoid these monocultures, because that also affects the diversity of the products that we have. So we want to slow production processes. That's also something that I've been talking about. But with regards to climate change, I mean, that also is affected by these changing patterns, but also the patterns that we see in growth as well of different species.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last short question. Here we go.
Okay, hi, I have a question. So today in the world, we have a lot of world leaders that only are focusing on fossil fuels and short-term gains. And it feels like 10 years after the sustainability targets were launched by UN, it's like sustainability is not really a focus anymore because we're like in a survival mode. So my question to you is like, how can we really nudge and push for inclusive and sustainable world leaders that actually are making a difference? Because today it's like, you are doing a great job, but big countries like, you know, they talk about drill, baby drill, and things like that. And so, yeah, how can we change that?
$1 million question. Juan.
Well, get ready to give me my $1 million. The main issue is you cannot change what people will do. In French, it says, tu ne peux pas changer les gens, tu peux juste changer ta façon de réagir face aux gens, which means you cannot change people. You can change your way of reacting to people. You will never be able to change the world leaders. You will never be able to that. But you can do things in your community. If everyone here knows 5 people and change 5 people, those 5 people that you will change will change again 5 people. You know the multiplier effect, right? In economics, we call this compound interest, right? And if you apply the same mindset to here, you won't need the world leaders to change the world, and you will change the narrative by yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sí, cambiar a un individuo a mi edad es duro, es difícil. Ya tenemos ego súper saturado. ¿Sí? ¿Quién puede cambiar al presidente de Estados Unidos? Nadie. Pero el pueblo está organizado. O sea, depende todos ellos de nosotros. Nosotros tenemos que empujarnos el cambio. No esperar al presidente que haga cambio, no. Cada uno de nosotros tenemos gran trabajo. Pero para ese cambio yo debo cambiar, para multiplicar lo que dice Juan, para contagiar a otras personas, primero debo cambiar. Yo he cambiado. Yo creo que todos nosotros hemos nacido con ego, con ambición. Yo también he sido ambicioso, ¿sí? Y yo cambié, por eso estoy aquí, por mi mamá. Porque yo tengo en mi finca pozo petrolero sellado de hace años que dejó la compañía. Un día yo dije a mi mamá, quiero vender petróleo. Yo dije eso. Y mi mamá dijo, ¿qué es petróleo? Y le conté, ¿qué es petróleo? Después dijo, no. 0. Entonces, cuando dijo 0, me dijo palabra muy sabia. Tú naciste solo, sin nada, y vas a morir solo, y no vas a llevar nada. ¿Para qué riqueza material? Eso yo hice cambio. Por eso estoy aquí. Porque yo con honradez digo, no vale riqueza material, porque de nada sirve. Es solamente vivir con alegría y no para qué acumular millones de dólares en banco. No, no sirve. Entonces, eso es lo que a mí me ha traído hasta acá. Entonces, para hablar a otra gente, yo debo hacer cambio verdadero. Entonces, eso nos toca a todos. No podemos obligar a nadie mientras yo no me cambio en mi forma de ser.
Changing older individuals like myself is tough because we have our egos very ingrained. And who can change the US president? No one. The people need to get organized. We all need to get organized. And we can't wait for leaders to make the change, but rather we need to multiply that among us. We need to change first. And I've changed myself. We are all born with ego and ambition. And I was very ambitious myself. I had to change this ego, and I changed it because of my mom. I have an oil well that's closed, but it's in my land, in my territory. And I went to my mom once and I said, "Mom, I want to extract that oil. I need to use it." And she said, "What is oil?" And so I explained what it was, and she said, "No, why would you do that? People are going to hate you." So, and then she told me, we were born alone, and you're going to die, and you're going to die alone. You're not going to take anything with you. And so she taught me that material wealth is worthless, and that's something that I can speak to. It's something that I've left behind, because what's the point of having millions of dollars in the bank if you're not happy? So we need to think about it ourselves. We need to change that mindset ourselves of just wanting more and more and more, and rather be able to, among us, change that mindset in order to be able to really create change among us and not wait for the leaders to make a change.
I think those are perfect last wise words of this seminar. So with it,
Yes.
thank you. So I'll leave the word to you, Johan.
Well, I would say I'm honored to let know you and to listen to you, and I hope that you're honored to get this award. There are great people that have received the prize before you, and you are one of the best ones that actually can move the power of people into the future when it comes to sustainability and climate change. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your fight, and thank you, all of you. Now we have to change the world together. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.